In the 1960s, the camera market evolved. Leica, which was renowned for its rangefinders, was forced to follow the trend and produce SLR cameras. The first SLR produced by Leica was the Leica Flex in 1964. The Leica Flex and its evolutions were decently successful until the early 1970s when Leica fell behind its Japanese competitors. Indeed, although it was beautifully crafted, the Leica Flex SL2 is shunned by photographers. The principal reason was the price. For comparison, a 1971 Nikon F2 cost half as much as a Leica Flex SL2. This huge price difference was the consequence of the artisanal manufacturing of these cameras. Unfortunately for Leica, consumers were not sensitive to this argument. They couldn't understand why they had to pay twice as much as a Nikon F2 for an equally capable camera. It is important to understand that the problem was the price of the camera. No one doubted the superiority of Leica lenses, and photographers were willing to pay more for them. But people would not buy lenses if they didn't have a compatible camera. Thus, Leica had to act fast and offer a new reasonably priced camera to survive. But how could they develop such a camera? The Leica Flex SL2 was very unsuited to the market because of its design, which demanded a costly manufacturing process. Leica had to make a radically different camera, and such a significant change of direction requires time and resources, things Leica did not have. And that is where the partnership between Minolta and Leica, which began in 1973, comes into play. The goals of this collaboration was to reduce costs by sharing tasks. For example, Leica contributed by providing an electromagnetic metallic vertical shutter developed with Copal, and Minolta built the Leica CL rangefinder for Leica in Japan. Fortunately, Leica already had a solution. In the same year Leica released the SL2, its partner Minolta released the XE1, a camera that was perfectly suited to the needs of the 1970s SLR photographers. Rather than designing a new camera from scratch, Leica reused the Minolta XE1 chassis design to replace the rejected SL2. So, as early as 1976, Leica released the R3 Electronic, a camera that looked very much like a Minolta XE1, but with a different mount accepting Leica R lenses. More importantly, the Leica R3 was now sold at a similar price to its direct Japanese competitors. As expected, the Leica R3 was quite a different beast from the Leica Flex. The R3 marked a transition from a manual mechanical camera to an electronic one with an aperture priority mode and a more precise shutter running on a battery. But if the technological leap is great, we cannot say the same thing about the general design of the camera. Indeed, despite being rejected for its price, the Leica Flex SL2 is quite a refined and beautifully balanced camera. The R3 was less refined and consistent regarding the shape and handling. In fact, the Leica R3 with its square and simple shape does not really look like a Leica. It clashes with the other SLRs produced by Leica. It is clearly a Minolta design rebranded as Leica. Some of you might want to know to which extent the Leica R3 is similar to the Minolta XE1 or XE7. The shutter developed by Leica and Copal, which allowed for a reduction in the camera's size and simplified production process, is shared. And yes, there is no error here. Ironically, Minolta used the shutter, designed by Leica and Copal, 2 years before Leica. The film advance mechanism seems identical, and of course the chassis is shared. Apart from that, the cameras are different. First, they don't share the same mount. You cannot use Leica lenses on your Minolta SLR camera, and vice versa. The Leica R3, which is produced in Portugal for cost reasons, and the Minolta in Japan also have other differences. Indeed, as Leica is synonymous with high-end, the R3 has to be technologically more advanced and built with better materials than the XE1. In short, the R3 uses better optical parts, mechanical parts, material used, and some parts of the electronic camera. It was meant to offer better light metering and greater viewing comfort than the XE1. The consequence was that the R3 was sold for 70% more than the XE1. But to be honest, having handled both cameras, the gap between the XE1 and R3 does not seem that huge to me. The main reason for choosing a Leica R3 instead of a Minolta XE1 was the better optics offered by the Leica system. But some might wonder if the collaboration was fruitful for Leica, and the answer is yes. Leica achieved sufficient success with the R3 to move forward. The collaboration with Minolta continued with the Leica R4 and Minolta XT7. But unlike the R3, the R4 looked quite different from its Minolta alter ego. After its cost issues related to the artisanal philosophy of manufacturing that impacted both its SLR and rangefinder camera products in the 1970s, Leica managed to survive with the help of Minolta. In the mid-1980s, Leica regained total control and resumed developing its SLRs independently with the Leica R5 and was once again a prosperous business. This channel is about more than just gear tests, it's a space to master the creative process and the timeless art of film photography. If you want to stop just taking snapshots and start making art, hit that subscribe button. And for a deeper dive, your next stop is electrocroissant.art. If you have a suggestion for a future video, do not hesitate to put it in the comments.